preferably work from a soil test, depending on what part of the country you're in. Your pH adjustment and calcium adjustments and nutrient adjustments are very important to begin with. A sandy soil and a clay soil need more amendments and need more attention. If you happen to be fortunate enough to your lawn either has a really great base of topsoil or you live in a region of the country that has excellent soil, it's less important. If you're on hard clay or you're in pure sand, you need to do something to break up the compaction on the clay and get some permeability into that clay and some organic matter. If you're in pure sand, it's the opposite. You're trying to hold nutrition and hold water so it doesn't percolate through. Both of those examples would be humic acids, organic fertility programs, and even liquid biologicals that are becoming more available now, even to homeowners. All of those things help those situations. And if you're in like I said, a really good topsoil situation, you're just going to probably have less of that need. The grass is such a tight, low grass. The imperfections of the seams and things like that would show if you don't have a really good grade. It doesn't mean that it has to be tabletop flat. You want the ground to flow, to drain. You can have some undulation. It just needs to be subtle and smooth. But most yards typically, particularly front yards, are typically flat. And you just can't have humps and bumps and roots and rocks, things like that. It's going to show up. Geo is a very, very good shade grass. We don't recommend people laying any type of turf in full shade, but we have seen some excellent results with the Geo over time under large oak trees, competition with roots from large trees, even growing up to large pine trees where there is competition. So I mean, we don't recommend it to people, but we see a lot of success when they do it properly. Some landscapers don't think of this, or homeowners, but that soil with the sun beating down is really hot. You're taking a fresh cut product up out of the ground, you're severing the roots, and then you're laying it on a hot surface. And so really we do recommend wetting the ground a little bit, cooling the ground. This would be a June through August event. Most of the year you wouldn't have to do that, but it just gives the grass a better chance. The roller is going to seal out all the air space underneath, which is going to inhibit the drying out around the root system. It's going to take out some of the undulation or maybe a few humps and bumps or clods that are under the soil. And it's also going to help press those seams down and give you a quicker fill in where you don't see the seams. If you've really got it flattened down and rolled down, it should begin rooting in 7 to 10 days. So really between 10 and 14 days, I don't have a problem putting a mower on it. If you wait a little longer, that's okay. You're not going to get a lot of upward growth with this grass in the first 3 weeks anyway. So you do have time, but the sooner you can start mowing it, you're going to get lateral growth and you're going to take the sod lines out. Most homeowners can't afford a real mower. They're very high maintenance. They're difficult to work on. But really a rotary mower with a really sharp blade that's in tune, set at the right height, will do a beautiful job on this. Many, many lawns are maintained with rotary mowers. The thatch, there's a misconception about thatch that it's created from grass clippings, which is a little bit of the factor, but most thatch is accumulated from organic matter building up from too much soluble nitrogen. And that's where it really comes from. If you're putting too much soluble nitrogen on it on a monthly basis, you're going to create a black layer and a thatch layer under the turf. The variation on this grass, I've mowed it as low as 1/4 inch, and that's with a reel mower, a T-top reel mower. Preferably about 1 inch. A homeowner should be able to maintain it 1 inch to 1.5 inches. Lower is preferable, but that's reasonable. You just don't want to let it go to where it gets into 3 or 4 inch then you're going to be it's difficult to mow. It has a great appearance, but then when you do mow it, you get the stemmy, scalpy look. You're going to retain moisture maybe during wet seasons when you don't want it. There's a harbor there for disease pathogens. There's insects tend to be a little more prevalent in those areas, grub worms particularly. So, I think keeping it low and tight is the way to go if you can do that. The slow release nitrogen and really 3 applications of some form of slow release nitrogen is about all this grass needs. Let's just say we start in January, depending on your location throughout the southeast or the country. I would typically do a low nitrogen with a pre-emerge in it, maybe in late January or February. Then sometime in early April, do a weed and feed. Keep the nitrogen around 15%, maybe a balanced 15-0-15 is a good example. You can use atrazine, simazine. There's a lot of pre-emerges that can go on this grass. In the summer, May or June, if you feel you need another fertility, maybe another 15% nitrogen with an insecticide possibly for any insect issues. And then at the end of the summer or going into the fall in like September, October, possibly another low nitrogen with another pre-emerge, and keep an eye out for the brown patch going into the fall.